Hey now, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because we understand that these systems that are keeping us down cannot be allowed to continue to exist in perpetuity, right? There was a system before capitalism. It was niggas minding their business. And I totally think that we need to resume niggas minding their business, people living a sustainable life style and in harmony with the planet, that we need to seize the means of production. We need to be all the bosses, not just a singular boss or even a hierarchical structure. I think we all can be bosses. We need to work in cooperative settings. Gang, we need to change this shit because this thing that we are living under, capitalism, and in addition, the patriarchy and racism and white supremacy and misogyny and ableism and all these things, these are ruining people's lives, literally. Homophobia is killing people. Transphobia is killing people. Imagine the lives that could be saved if we actually did set these systems of oppression on fire and built something else once the smoldering finished, correct? Something beautiful can come from the ashes, and I think we are the architects of that there system that is coming next. So anyway, welcome everybody to our brand new time. Make a note of it, 7 p.m. This is us, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. If I do my maths correctly, I think this is 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, correct? This is going to be our designated time going forward on Tuesdays and Fridays, so please make adjustments to your notifications or your ding-dings, or I don't know however you get your information that the show is about to go live, but please make an adjustment to that. One of our team members got an amazing opportunity and a promotion, so we will adjust as needed. And this, I think, is actually going to work better for our folks on the East Coast. I think we're going to get more people not having to rush home on the metro, because I know some of y'all was trying to rush home to watch Burn It Down with Kim Brown at 5 o'clock. I know y'all was taking early days on Tuesdays and Fridays. You was skipping lunch so you can leave at 4, so you can be home by 5 to hop in this live chat. I already know, and I appreciate that, and I'm very grateful. Very grateful for that. But listen, 7 p.m. onward, and from henceforth, make a note of that. Welcome to everybody that is in the chat. Shout out to all my people in here. I see my good sister Shirley in here. What's going on, Wendy? What's going on, Fire Fam? Latif, of course, is also in here. Courtney is in here. Chuck Diesel's in here. My mods, Mod and Strong, as y'all know what time it is. Dawn is in here, afraid not. Hello, sweetheart. Who else we got in here? The Nats. Nat M, Nat A, they are coming through. Shout out, yes, Valley Girls, come on in here. Who did I just see that I wanted to say what's up to, and I missed them that quick? God damn it. Oh, was it Afra? No, Afra's not in here. Y'all tell Afra to come in. Damien, Stoner Lunar is here. Damien, isn't it very late on in the UK? Isn't it midnight? Thank you so much for staying up late. We appreciate you. We appreciate you so much. Like I said, Wendy, my bruv, infinite content, come true. Esther, my good sis, come on in here. I love to see it. 40J Blaze, thank you so much for your attendance. Good people. Dave Gamandi is in here, yes. Louis Kang, of course. The Kang. Can I tell you, Lou Kang? And guys, sometimes I'm not able to read the live chat while it's happening live. So I'll go back and watch the show for the specific purpose of reading the chat. And Liu Kang has had me laughing for a whole fucking week talking about Frank James, the New York City subway shooter. Liu Kang said in the chat, he said, this nigga called the police talking about, here I go. I've been laughing about that for a week, Liu Kang, because I know what you look like and I know what you sound like, and I can just see Liu Kang, big country ass, talking about some here I go. And so thank you for that, Liu Kang. Thank you guys for everything. All right, guys, so here we got a nice little docket in store for you today. Coming up towards the end of the show, and actually I might hurry up and try to get there because I do want to talk about this, but the lifting of the mask mandates on public transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, the decision has been made. It is time for us to die. Premature deaths, are you ready? Do you have an underlying condition? Do you have a so-called comorbidity? Well, the government doesn't give a fuck. The airlines don't give a fuck. Big corporate America does not give a fuck. about the status of disabled, immunocompromised people. Apparently, the message being sent is that disabled people, and if you have a chronic condition, I guess you're just going to have to stay in the house forever, huh? Or if you like me, you just don't want to catch COVID, I guess, am I housebound now? What's going on? So we're going to take an examination as to what this really means for everybody, especially the most vulnerable among us, whom the powers that be seemingly obviously do not care the quality of life for people who are chronically ill or immunocompromised. Okay, that is a big problem. But we've got some good labor news, by the way. The Starbucks Workers Union continues to not be with the shits. They actually shut down two of their Seattle stores over the weekend. What was the big anime convention happening in Seattle over the weekend? Was it SakuraCon? Don't give me the line, but the SakuraCon attendees walked in solidarity with some of the striking Starbucks workers in Seattle. So we're going to take a look at that. Also, we are going to take a look at Verizon. Verizon treats its retail workers very, very bad. I know there has been a number of attempts to unionize Verizon workers. Some of them are in fact unionized through the communications workers, I believe, the CWA. But two retail Verizon stores in Washington State voted, I believe, this past weekend, recently, in support of joining the union. And I think you guys would be very surprised to know, number one, how badly Verizon treats their retail workers. Maybe you won't be surprised, actually. And two, interestingly enough, once these two Verizon retail stores voted overwhelmingly to unionize, Verizon miraculously raised its hourly wage. What? You telling me if people organize and stand together, they can make these corporations pay them more money? What? Stop. We're going to talk about that because that's good fucking news, in my opinion. But let's start with something else I do consider good news. And gang, I have long, as a Gen X, I guess I'm a late Gen X. Yeah, we late Gen X. Late 70s? Yeah, we the baby Gen X's. My big brothers and big sisters over on the Remix Morning Show, those are the big brother and sis Gen X's. I'm a baby Gen X, right? But as a baby Gen X, I have to say, I fuck with Generation Z. I fuck with Gen Z so hard. Gen Z ate with the shits, and they are with the shits and ate with the shits. Both of those, and I mean those phrases opposite, but in good ways, both ways though. It's a good thing that they are with the shits, and it's a good thing that they are not with the shits at the same time. And I fuck with Gen Z very hard. Gen Z was out there in them streets during 2020. Gen Z has been standing up against gun violence because they are the ones bearing the brunt of it in these school shootings, right? Gen Z has been standing loud and firm and strong about climate change because this is the shitty condition of the planet that it has been left for them, right? Student loan debt. Anyway, Gen Z is on top of it. And I like part of the reason I like Gen Z, I'm not sure. I feel like Gen X, we got talked out of a lot of shit, right? We got talked out of a lot of things. Well, wait, hey, simmer down on all that radicalism and change because you still got to be able to get a job out here, right? And I tell you, your politics will be forever impacted if the necessity is I can only speak and act and take actions around shit that will keep me employed. That sounds like indentured servitude. I can't even call it slavery. It's definitely not slavery. Slavery was way worse than that, but that is a form of slavery. Keeping you politically tame in order to keep you tethered to employment, right? And Gen Z said, fuck that. This shit is whack, Slim. This shit is whack. This shit is backwards. You want us to accrue tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt in order to get an education and to put us into a job market in which we cannot even afford to repay these bills, to which we cannot even afford to pay rent, to which we cannot even afford to maintain health care, to which we cannot even afford basic necessities, and telling these young people that they need to deny themselves simple pleasures like coffee, like lattes. Well, the reason why you don't have wealth is because you keep drinking coffee every single day. And the Gen Zers are not fooled by this. And I love them for that. And I love them for being hip to the shit way, way sooner. And this is my first topic, y'all. Gen Z is ready to burn it down. And how is Gen Z ready to burn it down? In a number of ways. But let's even examine this strictly politically, because there was a recent Gallup poll that came out a few days ago, which indicates that Generation Z is losing faith in the Biden administration quicker than other and older generations. Now, this obviously is people that voted for Joe Biden, right? And what's interesting also about this Gallup poll, because it reveals a number of things. It reveals the continuation of a steady pattern that shows that voters, so-called liberals and conservatives, have been abandoning both political parties in droves for a good 20 years now, right? Because there are more voters who are registered independent than there are voters who are registered Democrat or Republican, right? And I actually think Gen X, let's take some little bit of credit for that here, Gen X. I know some of us had to register to be Democrats in order to vote for Bernie in some of them primaries. I said, fuck that shit, goddamn it. I said, no, I will not. I will not register for Democrat. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. I ain't coming back for nobody. Bernie Sanders, I don't give a fuck who it is. You can't get me back. It's over. But the kids are like, nope, how about we don't identify with either this corporate party or that corporate party, but we identify as independent. And this polling, like I said, indicates that Biden is down, in some cases, at least 30 points. No, pardon me, 20 points among Gen Zers, and also losing ground amongst Black and Hispanic voters. And that has been a steady trend, according to this Gallup survey, since the election of Joe Biden. They said he sustained a decent approval rating during the honeymoon phase, but as the COVID, there's a dog in here, but as the COVID pandemic wore on and Joe Biden's campaign promises started to very quickly fall apart, I'm sorry, as much as I still very much want my $600 from Joe Biden, you think an 18-year-old, 21, 22, 23-year-old really wasn't counting on that money from Joe Biden? You know they was. No, they was. So stimulus, not a thing. Campaign promise unkept. But he did deliver us Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? And I know you guys can call up your local power provider, whoever runs your electric and gas, give them a call. I'm gonna call Pepco up and be like, hey, Pepco, listen, I'm a little short because, you know, the energy prices are pretty high. But maybe y'all can give me the Ketanji Brown Jackson credit. You know what I'm saying? Because since Joe Biden seems to think that having a Black woman on the Supreme Court is some sort of material recompense for Black people, or a campaign promise made and kept for Black people that is somehow enriching our lives immediately, maybe I could call Pepco and tell them that. It's like, hey, can I get that KBJ credit? What's going on? Joe Biden said that he put a Black woman on the court. Surely that must count for something, right? It counts for nothing. Now, here's the funny thing about liberals. Let's put up A2. If you could, for me, Tunde. Now, and I'm still not clear whether or not this person was being funny or serious or sarcastic or facetious or what, but it seemed the ratio on this tweet was rather impressive, from a Mr. Zach Beauchamp. Do I have that right? Yes, Zach Beauchamp. Zach works for Vox. Zach appears to be gainfully employed. Happy fellow, that Zach. And Zach tweeted, he said, Biden's collapse with young voters is kind of mysterious. I've heard a lot of theories, but I'm not sure any of them is all that convincing. And let me assure you, Zach Beauchamp from Vox got quite the response from people, very obviously explaining and pointing out and making it very clear that if liberals don't seem to understand why young people and why black people and why Hispanic voters are not only abandoning Joe Biden, but likely abandoning the Democratic Party en masse. And even if it's not people like myself formally leaving the party, just not being a member of the party, it's going to be people who are just not going to vote for Democrats and or they're just not going to show up to vote, period. And I know there's a a contingent. We got some fire famers in here. Shirley, Talisha, I'm with y'all. Charlie and Talisha, I actually need to have y'all on here, goddammit, because we need to talk about the benefit or the not benefit of electoral politics. And I will never tell people not to vote. I'm not going to tell you not to do that because I too hold ancestral guilt if I don't vote, right? They got me when I was young. They got me. If you don't vote, you disrespected the ancestors. People done died for you to vote. Okay, I believe you. Fine. Can I vote for Ghostface Killer? Is that acceptable? Does that count as voting? Okay, fine. If I can write in whoever the fuck I feel like it, no problem. I will show up to do the performance that it is of voting. But hold on. Getting back to Zach Beauchamp's tweet. Got a little ahead of myself. First of all, Joe Biden has been disappointing not just Gen Z, not just young voters of many generations, right? And let me speak for myself personally. Joe Biden has been specifically fucking over Generation X and all of the subsequent generations after us by his tenure in the Senate, the shit that he always supported, voted for, introduced, allowed himself to be lobbied on. I mean, student loan debt is, well, Reagan's fault to start, but Biden hastened it along by agreeing with the Republicans. I think that was what, guys, 06, about the bankruptcy shit, that you couldn't include your student loan debt in bankruptcy. That student loan debt was going to be with your ass from the cradle to the fucking grave. And of course, it was a Republican-led measure, but if it didn't have Joe Biden's support, where would it be? We see the kids now, fuck home ownership. These kids can't even fucking pay rent, my G. The wages have not gone up, even though they say that the wages have gone up during the pandemic. Well, that is because, number one, we had a million fucking workers out of the labor force, okay? Let's not even sit here. Well, people do not want to work. I was going to say, let's not pretend that people don't want to work. No, people don't want to work because they do not want to work amidst the pandemic and for wages that do not cover their basic living expenses, right? And under shit conditions, i.e. discrimination, misogyny, homophobia, and a number of other things. So Gen Z, I keep saying Gen X. I think it's because I am Gen X and I aspire to be Gen Z. I would love to be Gen Z. Gen Z has a lot to be mad about. And I'm glad that they're mad. How can I encourage their rage? What can I do or say to get them, push them over the line? Like, no, kids. And that's the fucked up thing, because I'm old and shit. Like, I want to see the young folks go out there and burn the shit down. I'd be behind them. I'd be right there behind them. I throw my Molotovs and my bricks after they throw their Molotovs and their bricks, because they young and they fearless, and I'm old and I got shit to lose, but that's okay. We lose it if it means that tomorrow a new system is possible. Some sacrifices are going to have to be made, Gen X. Now, I am talking to Gen X because now we middle-aged and semi-comfy, and listen, no. If the shit's going to be better for your babies and your grandbabies, we may have to forsake our comfort, unlike the boomers. The boomers will forsake no comforts. No comforts will be forsaken amongst the baby boomers. Gen X, we got to be ready. We can rough it. We can rough it a little bit. What else? Hold on. Let me get back to it. Okay. Now, another reason, and again, I support Gen Z 100%. But it's very clear that Joe Biden, even in his advanced age and whatever, Biden is more concerned clearly about protecting the interests that he's always protected, right? Oil and gas, chemicals, big pharma, big banks. Joe Biden's not changing from that at all. And his his oh my God. Excuse me, guys. 1 second. Tunde, can you turn my camera off real quick? Because there's a dog in here and she's about to fuck up my whole situation. Thank you. Is in here fucking knocking shit around. Okie dokie. Because I should have elected. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Am I back? Okay. Sorry, guys. My mom was over here, and she brought my friend over here to cut the grass because the grass is getting tall. And she closed Bagheera in here with me. Why? Why did she do that? I don't know. But anyway, let me reset myself. Okay. So the young people are pretty clear that Joe Biden and the Democrats are not standing with them. Obviously, they got plenty of good sense enough to know that the Republicans are definitely not the answer, right? But what they see is Joe Biden firmly standing against issues and making policy decisions that could seriously impact their lives in a positive way. Canceling student loan debt would impact their lives in a very positive way. Banning fracking would impact the lives of younger generations in a very positive way, and ours in addition to that. Running them some stimulus money, giving them Medicare for all or universal health care would impact their lives in a very positive way. But whom Joe Biden chooses to support is somebody like Joe Manchin, right? Joe Manchin, as I've been saying, and I'm sure others have said it too, Joe Manchin runs the Democratic Party. Like, it's him. I don't even know who the fuck is in charge of the DNC at present, but I assure you it doesn't fucking matter, because if Joe Manchin calls and says, hey, I need some movement on X, Y, and Z issue, Joe Manchin is going to get the priority because he holds that swing vote, and he is part of, I guess, that phony majority. I don't even know why the fuck they say that shit. Like, oh, the Democrats hold a slim majority in the Senate. No, they don't. Because Joe Manchin's a fucking Republican. Now, I know the Democrats are trying to boost their numbers and they won't admit it as such. But anyway, let me tell you guys some shit about Joe Manchin lately. And I saw this story. There's a number of stories actually out about Joe Manchin this week, and I find them kind of interesting. But so let me lead you up to that story, okay? Joe Manchin stood firmly against the Build Back Better bill. What was it? 1.5 trillion in social programs and infrastructure spending. They only got the infrastructure part passed, but because Manchin was so firmly opposed to the rest of it, right? Called it big socialism, whatever. And when Joe Manchin began, and not to say that he wasn't always getting praise from millionaires and billionaires, shit. Joe Biden has long gotten praise from millionaires and billionaires throughout the course of his congressional career. But this, I want to play you guys a clip. It's going to be A3 there, Tunde. So this actually was on CNBC. And I'm realizing, by the way, y'all, CNBC is like the View for rich old white men. It's the View. The rich old white men, they sit around and another less rich white man peppers them with questions, and they give their very bad, unvarnished takes from the perspective of 70-something and 80-something-year-old, exceedingly wealthy, obscenely wealthy white men. So you know the takes are very bad, right? As you can be assured. But I found this clip on CNBC, and this is from Home Depot co-founder Ken Langone. And Ken Langone, in November of 2021, once it was clear that the Build Back Better in its iteration presented by, or at least passed by the House, but in the version that got to the Senate, them niggas was like, no, no. But Manchin especially was like, no. Ken Langhorne, the co-founder of Home Depot, had some very glowing words to say about Joe Manchin and the toughness, I suppose, that Joe Manchin showed. But listen to this warning that this multi-billionaire has for regular people like you and I about the coming inflation. And to me, it was less of a warning, but more so of a promise of coming inflation. This is from November 2021 on CNBC. Let's take a look.
Let me give you a warning.
Yeah.
This inflation is a lot worse than people think. It is not transitory. And trust me, the little people like my parents and Lowry's parents, they're going to suffer because inflation is a regressive tax. It hits the poor people hardest of all. We have serious problems in America. I don't know. Look, you know my politics, but I got to tell you right now, I don't see leadership any place in this country. Thank God for Joe Manchin, by the way. Thank God for Joe Manchin. The guy's got guts and courage, and he did what he had to do, and he'll continue to do what he has to do.
He gets covered. A lot of the people probably like they don't have his, I don't know, he's pretty safe in West Virginia, obviously. But
well, I tell you right now, I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever had for him. He's special. He's precious. He's a great American.
He's special. He's precious. He's a great American. Shout out to Steve in the chat. Steve asked the most logical question. Sir, are your parents still alive? Because you're giving out all these warnings. Yes, regular people like my parents. Nigga, your parents have been in the ground. What are you saying? What is your even point there? But you heard Ken Langhorne right there. Promise to start a fundraiser and raise some money for Joe Manchin, okay? Mind you, this guy supported Trump last time around. And again, I know that shit don't make no bit of difference to billionaires. They only care about who is going to help them keep more of their money in their pocket. They don't give a fuck about Republican or Democrat. Whoever's going to help them the most, that's who they're going to be behind. And apparently, these billionaire conservatives are with Joe Manchin. If you could pop up A4 for me, Tunde. So the headline on this CNBC story, because again, I guess CNBC got all the tea on the rich white old billionaires. I mean, this is like TMZ and The View for all that shit. They got it. Billionaire draws GOP mega donors to $5,000 plate fundraiser for Democrat Senator Joe Manchin. And the article reveals some interesting details. Let me read you guys this paragraph here. And listen, it was a who's who of the most ain't shit old wealthy white men in America. A who's who. Just think of the worstest, oldest white men you could think of. They was in there, baby. 5,000. That's they fucking caddy tip money. That you know what I'm saying? That's the pocket change. Out they pockets. Blackstone CEO Steve Schwarzman, along with Home Depot co-founders Ken Langhorne and Bernard Marcus, who generally support Republicans, were among the executives at the fundraiser, according to the person who attended the event. Longtime investor Leon Cooperman, who has contributed to legislators on both sides of the aisle, also attended the lunch. Now, what's interesting about this lunch is that these billionaires were quite overt. Number one, what was revealed at this lunch is that Joe Manchin intends to seek re-election. Put a pin in that, because I would love to know what the fucking DNC response to Joe Manchin seeking re-election is going to be, okay? Put a pin in that. We're going to come right back to that. But the other hook about this is that these rich, old white male billionaires are trying to convince Joe Manchin to actually leave the Democratic Party and oppose Biden in the 2024 election. Stranger shit has happened, kids. Donald Trump, the era of Trump, learned me good in politics. Like, hey, you can't put nothing past these motherfuckers. The most absurd thing that you can imagine, please keep it on the table because it can absolutely totally happen. And I don't think Manchin leaving the Democratic Party, because obviously he's not a Democrat, clearly he stands in opposition deliberately, right, intentionally to any sort of progressive agenda. So what the fuck is his purpose? If you're not gonna pass progressive shit, get the fuck out, man. Them blue dog Democrats, we don't have space, ain't no space. Well, anyway, I guess there's lots of space for the blue dog Democrats. There's no space for us, right? There's no space for leftists who really want to see real progressive socialist change in this country. There's no space for us. I guess there's plenty of space for the centrists, yes. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Manchin could leave the Democrats, become a Republican, and confront Biden, challenge Biden in the 2024 presidential election. What's his name? Trump. Trump's not a sure thing as of yet running. And I don't think that whatever the RNC strategy is, I think they understand that maybe they can't win with Trump. But again, I cannot count Trump out, because anytime you minimize or even try to diminish the extent of racist zealotry in the United States, racist zealotry will always prevail, and it will always leave you looking dumb. And trust me, I speak from experience because in 2016, I was like, hey, there was for a segment of 2016, I was very much like, I don't think this is possible for Donald Trump to win election. And again, and I felt real silly on election night, like, okay, so I can't put anything past anybody in this country. Yes, if it comes to protecting whiteness and protecting the patriarchy and protecting capitalism, the absurd can easily become reality. So there is that. But pay attention, guys. Manchin is the reason, well, at least let me phrase, Democrats and Biden's loyalty to Joe Manchin is the reason why part of the Biden agenda has been unsuccessful. And in addition to the fact, pardon me, that Joe Manchin has billionaires begging him, that's going to be a tough thing to turn down for Joe Manchin. I think if you have people who are willing to bankroll your presidential campaign, which we know, I think what did Sheldon Adelson give Mitt Romney back in 12? Was it 100 million? It was an obscene amount of money. And we know that these people don't have a problem throwing down 20, 50, 100 million dollars. They'll do it. That's going to be a tough sell for Joe Manchin not to accept. But the reason, if Joe Manchin's Senate seat is safe in West Virginia in 2024, assuming that he does not run for president, expect more people to abandon the Democratic Party. Because if the Democratic Party tries to make sure that Manchin remains in his seat for 2024, if they don't try to primary him, if they don't try to run someone to the left of fucking Joe Manchin, that actually could be the ultimate death knell for the Democratic Party. Because Manchin represents very much that old guard, as does Biden, but Biden is trying to sell us that he cares about the climate and he cares about police accountability, lies, all lies. He don't give a fuck about none of that shit. But if they stand by Joe Manchin while it tries to defend his Senate seat in 2024, that's it. That has to be the final signal that these people are unserious totally about your future, kids and grown folks, unserious about us ever having health care, unserious about us ever being able to reap the amount of social safety net benefits that we are entitled to because we pay for them. And if other countries got that shit, ain't no reason for the U.S. not to have that, with the exception of the fact that our politicians are greedy fucks who are beholden constantly to capitalistic interests, to the sacrifice of us, to the detriment of us, to the diminishment of our qualities of life, to the time that we are able to spend with our families in kids and pets. You know what I'm saying? To the point that we actually have a work-life balance. Like, America and capitalism does not believe in that shit. But you know what? I think Gen Z gonna make them believe in that shit. I think Gen Z is gonna tell these people to get down and lay down. We are your labor force. We refuse. How about that? How about that? How about that? Speaking of which, let me take a little quick pause, just to remind everybody that if you've not already subscribed to the channel, to Burn It Down with Kim Brown, please take a moment to do so. As you see, I pulled my hair back once again, and I know y'all like, when are you gonna put your hair back out, Kim? I'm gonna put it out tomorrow. For the Remix Morning Show on Black Power Media. Tomorrow is 420. Oh, and it is the 1 year anniversary of the Remix Morning Show. Gang, I don't think you want to miss that. I do not think you want to miss that. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Black Power Media, the 1 year anniversary of the Remix Morning Show on 420. Yeah. And I'll take my hair out. But of course, y'all know I was trifling as shit, and my hair is still wet. Still wet. So I had to keep it twisted up. And I didn't even twist the back. Big auntie energy. Big, big auntie energy. Yeah. And please do us a favor, follow us different places around the internet. We are on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at BIDWKB. Much love going out to Northern Witch. I know Northern Witch said she had some computer charger problems. I'm not sure she is over there moderating for us over on Twitch, but either way, Northern Witch, you get a shout out. Oh, yay, Northern Witch, okay. She gets a shout generally because D is the shit. We fucks with D. And thank you so much, Latif. And shout out to Schultzy, shout out to Big Teal. I love y'all. Hey, Craig Bardo's in here too. Yay, we got a good crew in here tonight. If you want to support the channel financially, you are definitely encouraged to do that. You can drop us some super chats. I don't know about YouTube be taking a big of a cut than I'm comfortable. So anyway, super chats are cool. You can also support us on Cash App, $BIDWKB, Venmo at BIDWKB, PayPal.me/BIDWKB. And if you want to become a patron, do so at patreon.com/BIDWKB. That is correct. I think, when is I guess it's going to be 2 Fridays from now. We do our monthly Ask Me Anything on the last Friday of every month. And I guess next Friday is not the last Friday. Is it Tunde? Or is it the following Friday? Okie dokie. I don't know the days on the calendar, children. So please. Okay, Tunde said that it is next Friday, the last Friday in the months. Yes. So if you want to hang out for our Ask Me Anything, you should do that. Join. You can do, we have tiers on the very low, economical, affordable end, $2 a month, get you in there. And if you go up higher on the tiers, we have some merch offerings that we would like to send you. So there's that. So support the channel in different ways. We appreciate it, guys. This is Black woman-led independent media. And so we are able to continue to bring you our content by your very gracious and support. Shout out. Who does Kim? Who does Kim what? I don't know, Obi. I'm all out of context. I'm going to leave that right there. And I'm going to move along because we've got some labor news. We've got some labor victories. It's a good year for labor, y'all. It's a good year to join a union. I guess any year is a good year to join a union, but the Yen-Yens are having possibly the best week ever. I missed that show, Best Week Ever, on VH1. It was fun before it got corny. So, check this out here, guys. Verizon. Verizon, I think, is the reason why my shit be buffering sometimes, but that's another story. Guys, Verizon has had a lot of union pressure on it for a long time. Verizon is a company that I think made a profit of $4.7 billion last year, something absurd. Like they made a ridiculous amount of money. And Verizon has worked very hard to union bust the whole time. The whole time. The duration of its existence, Verizon has been very anti-union and trying to union bust. Now, I want you guys to look at this clip from the good people at More Perfect Union. Big fan of More Perfect Union. They do outstanding reporting on labor and unions. And let me read the tweet. It says, new Verizon retail workers in Washington state are unionizing and calling on workers across the country to join the movement. Verizon made over $4.5 billion in profit, last quarter, but is cutting its pay for retail workers and understaffing its stores. $4.5 billion of profit in one single quarter. I can't believe I messed that up and said that they made that in a year. Ridiculous. I want us to take a look at this excerpt. And this is like 3 minutes, gang, but this is 3 quality minutes from More Perfect Union because I want you guys to get a very good understanding at, number one, the kind of conditions that the workers were subjected to. And I believe towards the end, some of the workers began to describe the union busting efforts, shit that is supposed to be illegal, allegedly. Seemingly, multi-billion-dollar companies do this shit all the time without impunity. I wonder why that is. Fucking Joe Biden and the Democrats, they had something to do with it. They got blame in there somewhere. But let's check out this clip from More Perfect Union, and then I want to update you on the status of these Verizon retail workers who voted to unionize very recently. Let's take a look at this.
I've made less money every year for 9 years in a row.
Verizon made $4.5 billion in profit, but they're taking up to 40% in hard-earned commission check from their frontline employees.
This year, our raises were essentially pay cuts. They were almost meaningless compared to the cost of living increase.
You can't schedule family events, doctor's appointments, or any kind of stable living. It's all focused around the chaotic nature of Verizon's schedule.
Our management was completely unaware that we were organizing this union. We caught them totally off guard when we went public with the union. I CC'd them on the email to Hans just to let them know that we were organizing. So immediately, the day after, I sent an email to Hans Vestberg, the CEO of Verizon. They flew out a union buster the next day.
I've been told by management that I should be grateful for what I have, and I should be grateful for the pay I have because it's a lot better than what other people are getting.
I think the team is doing a great job, and as you said, I mean, you see it in the numbers right now. Even if you compare to 2019, we're up on every metrics.
I see my coworkers struggle to pay rent. I see my coworkers living at work more than they live at their homes. I see my coworkers struggling to support their families, and it makes me sick to my stomach to think that the people that aren't living at Verizon are thriving and buying fancy cars and able to have families, able to go to school.
Verizon is systematically sort of taken away all of our support in the stores. When I first started 9 years ago, we had a ton of support in our store. We had 3 assistant managers, we had operations specialists in each stores, we had a GM for each store, and over the years, Verizon has laid off the operations people. Verizon's laid off our experience reps who used to greet our customers and make our store flow better. And they just handed out those responsibilities to those that were left, and they didn't hand out their pay. Verizon just kept that for themselves.
They can move us around from one location to another location without us really having a say to do or choose. We just want more of a say in our own livelihood, better work-life balance.
I experienced being cornered, being isolated, threats in the sense of a threat with a smile, unspoken rules, passive aggression.
They do almost more than yearly campaign of just anti-union training. What to do if somebody approaches you with a card to sign up for a union. This union card may be legally binding. Don't trust anything that the CWA says, basically.
Well, those union busting efforts were unsuccessful because over the weekend, Tunde, if you could pop up B2 for me, please. The Verizon Workers Union tweeted, "We won 11-1. That was the vote. The Everett and Linwood stores are now unionized, and they tagged the Communication Workers Union because that is who represents Verizon retail workers, especially in the PNW. So we want to send congratulations to those two stores in Everett and Linwood who successfully voted to unionize, despite the fact that this multi-billion-dollar corporation was making very strong efforts to make sure that that did not happen." And listening to the ways in which these workers were having their labor exploited, in which the company was not sharing profits with their workers, who were the ones sacrificing literally their lives and their health and their safety, coming to work in person during a pandemic to keep Verizon's little funky ass retail stores open. Where was the hazard pay? See, that's why you need a union. Okay, if the job starts talking about you can't talk about union, that is when you need a union. That is when you need a union. And if you could pop up B4 for me, Tunde. So here's what happens sometimes when you have a union, guys. And listen, I see people in the comments, and you guys are correct. Are unions perfect? Fuck no. I have personal experience, familial experience with the union. And I know people who have had to sue the union for discrimination of all kinds, gender, race, you name it. These unions are not perfect. The inceptions of the American, the AFL, the American Federation of Labor, who was that nigga? Samuel Gompers, big racist. Okay, the unions are not perfect, absolutely. But here's the thing, the job is always going to suck. The union can make it suck a little bit less. And if we are not organized out here as workers, then these companies and these corporations can do with us and with our labor and with our wages and with our time and with our benefits, whatever they so choose. So this is actually posted. And it says that there is an update, guys. Now, just days after the Verizon retail workers in Washington voted to unionize, Verizon announced that it is raising its minimum wage to $20 an hour for customer service, retail, and inside sales employees. Now, I'm sure those things are just a coincidence, right? Two stores vote to unionize. Partly one of the demands that the workers are wanting include higher pay. And here comes Verizon. Actually, no, we could actually pay $20 an hour minimum wage the whole time. See, you guys don't need a union. Listen, we will raise your wages if we get enough pressure. If we get enough pressure and incentive to, yeah. Don't stop there, CWA. Don't stop there, Verizon workers, because we know the fight for 15 now needs to be the fight for 25 or the fight for 30. I'm very glad to see that Verizon has increased the wages of their retail workers to $20 an hour, but that is still not enough to survive on, even if you work 40 plus hours a week. So that's a start. That is not the finish. That is not the finish. Moving along, gang, talking about Starbucks real quick. I'll give y'all a little bit of Starbucks news because, as we know, the Starbucks Workers Union has been rolling this year. They have been rolling. What are they up to? Are they up to a dozen stores? Just give or take, más o menos, 12-ish? Yeah, baby, rolling. Let me show you what they was doing in Seattle over the weekend at the 5th and Pike locations, okay? Workers had shut it down due to unfair labor practices, and they decided to strike in front of the Starbucks at 5th and Pike. And Starbucks tried to keep it open, according to the tweet. Starbucks, and this is, by the way, posted by a Starbucks worker support account called Venti Solidarity, which I think is adorable. And the tweet goes ahead to read that Starbucks tried to keep the store open with managers yesterday, but gave up today on Sunday, I guess. So let's take a quick look at this clip of workers outside of the 5th and Pike location in Seattle shutting down that Starbucks.
Union busting! What's disgusting? Union busting! What's disgusting? Union busting! What's disgusting? Union busting.
What's disgusting?
Union busting.
What's disgusting?
Union busting.
What's disgusting?
Union busting.
What's disgusting?
Union busting. What's disgusting? Union busting. Yes. And we know, and we have been talking about here on this program, Starbucks, Amazon, Verizon, all these motherfuckers are union busting. And it's important that the workers, number one, have the political education to understand the union busting tactics when they see it and when they encounter it and when they experience, but to say, hey, you know what? What you're doing is wrong and fucked up. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to shut down business in front of your little funky ass store for the day or even for the weekend. It seemed to be what they did out there at 5th and Pike in Seattle. They shut it down for the weekend. Okay, good luck. Good luck selling your little Venties while people cannot enter because you're disgusting with your union busting. Last but not least, gang, the last thing I wanted to talk about, of course, just generally, we are always sending solidarity with the workers. We always stand with the workers. No doubt. Keep doing that shit. Stay on that shit. Last topic, guys, and I'm going to try to get through this expeditiously. Because you guys know how I feel about this. And I want to thank the people who have reached out to me on social media and who have been telling me, either sharing with me their COVID stories or talking to me anecdotally about their health conditions and why they are so in fear of this next phase of the pandemic that we are entering, which is, I suppose, the denial phase of the pandemic. Yesterday, a federal judge, ruled in Florida that the mask mandate on public transport was invalid, was illegal. Okay, and we have absolutely entered some circle of hell or some additional platform of late stage capitalism where a federal judge from the bench can literally make sweeping changes to public health policy that affects the entire nation. And guys, I'm not certain, but I suspect the two plaintiffs who brought this website, it smelled a lot. It smelled like whiteness. It was giving me big Karen energy. It smelled like centering white comfort was the basis of this lawsuit. Now, damn it, I actually lowered myself and found an MSNBC clip that I actually think does a decent job of quickly but semi-accurately encapsulate the very loose details of this federal judge's ruling yesterday, which, from what I understand, people who were on planes mid-flight were taking off their masks, to the horror, I can imagine, of those of us who are still very much in fear of the pandemic, who understand that the pandemic has not gone away. Just because deaths and hospitalizations are down doesn't mean that we're out of a fucking pandemic. That's not what that means at all. Anyway, let's take a look at NBC News Justice correspondence. Nigga, what? Okay, Justice, come on. This is Pete Williams. Pete Williams gave us some very quick details about this Florida judge's ruling that affects public health across the country. Let's take a look.
So this is a federal judge in Tampa, Florida, who has ruled in a lawsuit brought by a group called the Health Freedom Defense Fund, and two women who said that they didn't like wearing masks on a plane. One of them said that her anxiety was aggravated by having to wear a face mask, and the other said the mask constricted breathing and provoked or exacerbated her panic attacks. And the judge has said two things here, that the Centers for Disease Control did not have the authority to issue this mask under the law that set up the CDC, and secondly, that the federal government failed to go through all the necessary steps in making a rule like this and seeking public comment. Now, the judge said, normally speaking, in a case like this, she would issue a ruling in favor only of the parties to the lawsuit. In other words, that a mask mandate would not apply only to them. But the judge, who is Catherine Kimball Mizell of Tampa, said that's not possible. that it would be hard to distinguish them from others. And then she says, if she were to try to limit it, how is the ride-sharing driver, the flight attendant, or the bus driver to know that somebody was a plaintiff to this lawsuit with permission to enter mask-free? That just wouldn't work. So she has declared the mask mandate illegal. She has struck it down. Now, as I say, I don't know what the government's going to do about this. I would think they'd seek a stay of her ruling. This was the mask mandate, of course, as you mentioned, applied to airplanes, trains, buses, other kinds of mass transit. And in the case of airplanes, it's been extended several times because the government has said that it's been effective in helping to prevent the spread of COVID.
There's a lot there. There's a lot. The Health Fund for Freedom. Now, y'all know, I'm sorry, my saltine sense started tingling. Okay. 2 women brought this lawsuit saying that they get both anxiety and panic attacks from having to wear masks on airplanes or on public transport. And then Judge Karen decided, you know what, Karens, I can see y'all's point. You know what? We are going to change the entire public health policy for every single American to accommodate these 2 poor people who are suffering from panic attacks and anxiety because they have to be forced to wear masks and they don't want to, because of course it imposes on their freedom. Well, you know, that was white woman energy from beginning to end. The plaintiffs got to be white women. I don't know for a fact that they are. I'm willing to put some money down that they are. Okay, the judge appointed by Trump, you know she was white. So this was a whole Karen conspiracy, basically, everybody, to kill the rest of us or to expose us significantly to a still very deadly, very airborne, very transmissible virus that continues to spread around the globe. Now, I don't know if Ursula and or Damian Stoner Loner are still in here with us, but gang, from what I'm able to ascertain in the UK, the NHS is reporting that there are not a lot of hospital beds. Like the UK is in the midst of a BA2 surge right now, gang, a surge. And we too in the US are in the midst of a surge. But the problem is no one's going to fucking tell us, okay? And and as we see these masking mandates being lifted on public transport of all places, expect them to fall everywhere else. I think they're going to go down in schools. I think they're going to go down a lot of folks, a lot of places. And I wanted to present this to you really quick. It was, and sis, I apologize on Twitter. I only know you by your name, but I don't know your handle, but it's the Hokage bitch. The Hokage bitch sent me a clip from disability rights activist Imani Barbarin. Imani Barbarin is about it broad. I fucks with Imani Barbarin big time. Her politics, especially around disability and ableism, are second to none. You need to follow her and mostly internalize the shit that Imani is tweeting about, because she knows what the fuck she's talking about out here. It's going to be D2 Tunde. So in addition to the absurdity of a quarter, 20 to 25% of Americans are disabled in some way, right? And that could be a physical disability, a mental disability, a chronic illness, or some sort of, immunocompromised situation, which immune system, right? You have proneness to get sick. So they're telling everybody that basically, if you have a so-called pre-existing condition, if you have type 1 diabetes, if you have asthma, if you have an already pre-existing condition that makes you susceptible to blood clots, if you have heart disease, if you have any range of afflictions that are otherwise survivable lest you contract COVID, these motherfuckers are about to put the onus on the individuals. They're about to put the onus back on us, as opposed to businesses and the government, to make sure that mitigation shit is in place. Like, America has given up on trying to cease the transmission of COVID. They have stopped. It is over, okay? And the CDC is well aware that there are studies out from the NIH and studies from abroad that indicate that, guys, it's fairly fucked up. 30 to maybe north of 40% of all COVID infections are resulting in some sort of long COVID symptom. Okay, and those symptoms can range. They can range. And I assure you, it's some shit that you don't want. And this whole talk about personal choice and personal responsibility. If I'm immunocompromised and I want to go out in the world and go somewhere, to the mall, to the hairdresser, to wherever, and be inside, the responsibility, my personal responsibility as an immunocompromised person has been removed because masks don't work as well in isolation. So if you are the only person wearing a mask in a crowded indoor space and no one else or very few people are wearing masks, the rates of transmission are going to be higher, and you stand a higher chance of contracting COVID regardless if you are masked, because there's simply more virus in the air, okay? But anyway, I said that to say, I want you guys to take a listen to what Imani Barbarin is foretelling here. And may I also add that disabled people and disabled activists have predicted how this pandemic has been handled every single step of the way. They have anticipated and correctly predicted every single governmental state failure. And the state has been consistent as fuck as failing us on this pandemic. And this latest move that the Biden administration does not seem to be in any rush to challenge this federal judge's latest ruling. They're just kind of shrugging their shoulders and being like, oh, well, I guess it's time to get back to normal. But for disabled people, for immunocompromised people, and those who are chronically ill, there is no more back to normal. That's done. Let's take a look at what Imani had to say.
If you still recognize that the pandemic is real, then I need you to listen. I'm going to make this 60 seconds to share. I have been contacted by a couple of disability rights activists to be notified that the CDC is up to some new. The CDC will soon be promoting a narrative of, you need to take care of your pre-existing conditions first. Now, to a lot of people, this sounds benign, but it is not. Because it will turn into, you need to have taken care of your pre-existing conditions first. Because see how the death rate is so high? This is why. Because you didn't take care of yourself first. Basically, this would put all the blame on people who are sick, chronically ill, and disabled. This is likely setting the stage for the lawsuits that are to come. You know, employee lawsuits against companies for putting their lives at risk and not taking COVID seriously. Because if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, a ton of people had to come forward that they had a disability or chronic illness in order to get accommodations to stay safe. And they are the very ones who their employers put at risk. The CDC wants to shift blame from corporations, companies, and policy to the individual to escape these inevitable lawsuits.
Thank you so much for that, Imani. And I hope you guys listened and heed to what Imani is saying, because the onus is going to be put back on you, person who only has health care connected through your employer, or you, person who maybe cannot afford insurance out of pocket or cannot afford your deductible or your copay. You are going to have to manage your health, as I guess we always have, out of pocket by yourself on your own. And if you somehow contract COVID and become more disabled or permanently ill or have long COVID, then that is your fault, because you did not properly gauge your level of personal risk and personal responsibility. Well, unfortunately, they are making that impossible for us to accurately gauge because the levels of testing are diminished. People are not reporting the results of home tests, and the testing is no longer free if you don't have insurance, right? And this all from a nation which does not have or provide universal health care for its citizens, even despite during a pandemic, and then tried to lie and fudge about the numbers of, number one, total infections, and then total deaths. I still stand by it, guys. COVID deaths were undercounted intentionally in New York, which is part of the reason why Cuomo went down. By the way, n'oubliez pas, do not forget that part. You know, he was being a big fucking creep, but he was also lying about the numbers of people dying in nursing homes. Ron DeSantis was doing the same thing, and I suspect that many other states were doing the exact same fucking thing. And as we talked about recently here on this program, the ways in which COVID deaths are currently being categorized in certain states like New Hampshire is sketchy at best, right? So all the numbers, everything points to the fact that they are trying to diminish the real impact of this virus and the real impact that this virus continues to have on us, okay? And even for the people, I feel bad for workers. I feel bad for people who are working on public transit. I really do, because during the beginning parts of this pandemic in 2020, it was people who were driving the metro buses, people who were driving the trains, people or the Uber drivers, like people who were in public transport were losing their lives. Sometimes the first, they were among the first of us to die, right? And I hope the hospitalizations stay down, but every single wave of COVID that we have experienced up until this one has led with the infections ticking up, and then the hospitalizations eventually caught up with that. And our public health position is, well, the hospitalizations are not up yet, so fingers crossed, we'll just keep erasing the mask mandates, and we'll keep hoping that the hospitalizations stay down. Well, what happens when they don't stay down? What happens when they start to tick up, as they're starting to in New York State, as they're starting to in Florida? And thank you, Infinite Content. I saw Infinite Content in the chat told me that the Biden administration is appealing this Florida judge's ruling. Good. I'm glad. That's the fucking least they can do. And I also need them to resume paying for people's COVID tests. The good junks, the antigen junks, not the fucking little rinky dinky junks. The accurate tests that are picking up all the mutations. And we need for the CDC to be way more honest about what's happening. And I don't anticipate them to do that. And I thought that the CDC's reputation was going to be in tatters after the Trump administration. No, I think the CDC has not redeemed itself very well to be credible, nor reporting the information in real time about the pandemic with integrity. I don't believe them. Okay, the CDC amended their guidance just days after airline CEOs came and testified that they needed a shorter, time off time for workers who had tested positive for COVID. Like, it was 10 days that you had to self-isolate and not go to work. And upon the request of the airline CEOs, the CDC amended that guidance down to 5 days. I mean, pretty much using the airline CEO's verbiage word for word. It was outrageous. So I don't anticipate that this so-called public health agency is actually working in the interest of public health. It's working in the interest of private capital, of capitalism, is how they are distributing their guidances. And gang, if you're immunocompromised out here, if you're elderly over the age of 65, if you have children under the age of 5 who are not able to get vaccinated, gang, I need y'all to please, please, please. And listen, if you happen to be fat out here, if you got diabetes out here, if you got asthma, don't let these motherfuckers tell you that you need to tighten up and get your health condition together, or else. No, bitch, I was surviving perfectly fine being fat, diabetic, and asthmatic. How about you get this COVID under fucking control? How about you control this goddamn virus, or provide universally for free without cost the Plax COVID, the shit that I'm seeing people on Twitter who have long COVID saying that they are seeing really good results with. I am not a doctor. Do not take my medical advice. But I'm just saying, I hate it here. I would like for someone to come get me out of here. Yesterday, if yesterday was too soon, today would be fine. Just meet me on the banks of the Potomac. I'll be out there with my lantern. Just come pick me up on the boat, and we go back to Ghana, and we can go to Senegal, and we can get away from here as fast as possible. But gang, please, I'm serious. COVID is still out here jumping on people, and I know I've been saying that for 2 years because COVID has not stopped jumping on people at all. But now it is truly every man, woman, child, non-binary person, literally for themselves. They do not care if you live or die, if you are chronically ill or immunocompromised. They do not care if you live the rest of your life in isolation. You are not entitled to go out and experience things, right? Because you were too delicate, you were too fragile, you were too weak to be out here. It is not the responsibility of the society as a whole to look out for you, vulnerable person. That is the message that people are being sent. And I want you guys to know that. So every person that you know who has an underlying condition, who is diabetic, who is a cancer survivor, who is a cancer battler, who is dealing with, who has lupus, who has MS, just run down the list. Run down the list. That adds up to be literally tens of millions of people. These people's lives have value. They have meaning. They deserve to be out here living their lives as abled, healthy people. But the onus is on abled, healthy people to make a safe space for the vulnerable people to be safe and careful in. And that requires masking. I don't give a fuck. It requires masking. Fuck your anxiety, Karen. Fuck your little panic attack, Karen. Nobody give a fuck. Put that on that fucking mask, because people's lives are more valuable than your fucking comfort, than centering the comfort of those who are too selfish, too immature, and too, albeit at the end of the day, heartless to care about the conditions of others. Anna Hart, thank you so much. Anna Hart just ran us some bucks, y'all. Anna says, last month's support group was so awesome that we are doing it again in May. If you'd like to join us next month, please get in touch with Kim or me. Yes, get in touch with me or Anna. It's going to be the second Monday in May. And maybe we could talk about COVID, guys, because no, I'm not immunocompromised. Can I just say that, by the way? I am not immunocompromised, but I move like I'm immunocompromised out here. I have an elderly mother. Like, I'm not going to get this fucking virus. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let my mother get it. And I want us to be as vigilant as we possibly can, even if it's about people that you do not know personally, okay? It's necessary. But anyway, gang, that's our time. Do me a favor. Tomorrow morning, come hang out with us for the 1-year anniversary of the Remix Morning Show on Black Power Media. We are getting started 8 a.m. I watched the morning show this morning. I think Jacqueline Lukman's going to be there. You know, we all turn up for Jackie. Oh, Jackie's going to be this shit. Count me in. I will absolutely be there. But join me, Kamal, Jared, Ear Doctor, hopefully Kalanji. Kalanji should come through. Who else is on the morning show? That's enough niggas. I don't know. That's plenty. So join us tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for the 1-year anniversary of the Remix Morning Show as we celebrate that along with 420. So gang, I love you guys. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you all so much for your support. Please don't forget, this is our new time henceforth, 7 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate you guys making time for us on behalf of Tunde and Molly. We thank you all so much, and we will see y'all back here Friday. See y'all later. Bye-bye.